Hi, I'm going to be speaking to a lot of you today about joining a labor union and what that means, being unionized or becoming unionized, or if you're thinking of becoming unionized. You would have to have been in my shoes to really experience the toxic and negative work environment, the negative work ethics, unfair practices at work, in order to reach the point that we did back in 2017. A group of myself and colleagues had joined together to form a group meeting with the union director locally here in El Paso, Texas. One of the many reasons why we felt so strongly in meeting with the union representative was because we would actually be bringing someone from the union to advocate for us, for those of us that didn't have a voice. A lot of us were either receiving unfair treatment from work, from management, from the supervisors, all because we spoke out or against unfair practices like I did back in 2017. One of the things that we did was we gathered and we waited at the local Peter Piper as we couldn't meet with the director or anyone from the union where I worked. Now, what this brought on was a lot of challenges having to gather everyone to meet together. Not only did we have to coordinate a date and a time, but we had to ensure that no one else was going to go ahead and speak about us joining the union. A lot of us were in fear of our jobs or losing our jobs if it was even mentioned that we were going to go and meet with the union, or if somebody were to have told on a lot of us that were not considered favorites. But if it was reported to management, then that meant the loss of work. We wouldn't have job security, in other words. Now, what made it a lot harder for us to meet with this director was a lot of the personal questions that I had in regards to joining a union. There was a lot of questions as to why I wanted to join, and there's also such a thing as union dues. Now, regardless of those union dues, I actually voted in favor of joining the union, and I'm going to tell you why. First being was we actually had someone to represent us in cases where we were called into the office for disciplinary action, or if we were called into management or a meeting. I had the right to question whether or not this would lead into disciplinary action. And in a case in 1975, it was agreed upon or voted in favor in the Supreme Court that an employee had a right to allow a union representative to be present when being questioned or in disciplinary meeting with supervisor or management, which became known as the Weingarten rights. Now, with this being said and moving forward, a lot of the people that had been called into the office were fired. They were terminated. What that meant for me was, when was my day going to come? When the supervisor, the manager was going to get fed up with me. Now, I didn't want to quit. That was one of the issues that, or the discussions that we spoke about with the director of that union. And one of the things was, do not let the employers get the best of you. Now, one of the things that they actually argued and discussed with us, with giving us plenty of examples, was the reasons why. And most of the reasons that I'm going to cover with you were job security. We had security there at work. One of the other reasons was not only job security, but we also covered a lot of the information such as wage increases. That was definitely one of the subjects that a lot of us felt strongly in favor of joining the union, because that meant our wages would increase. There were some people that were working for 5 or more years without a pay increase. A lot of the people there were working jobs or doing duties that were that of the supervisor or managers, and a lot of the people that would speak up against it, our voices were unheard. Now, not only that, the wage increases, but one of the other issues that the director discussed was benefits, advantages to benefits, such as our wages. We had something called the bin credit where we would receive an extra $400 on top of our pay. And one of the issues with that, or the complaints with that, was when Obamacare came into play. Those $400 were going to go away for sure. We had to speak up and we had to vote with and for the union so that they can go ahead and move in favor of telling our employers where we wanted those funding of those $400 to move into, whether it was in our 401k, pension, insurance, any benefits to us. That would actually be a plus for us employees. The last reasoning would be because of job safety. A lot of us were in fear of retaliation. That was the main reason. Not only that, according to a complaint or uh, from an employee based on Union Plus, a website that I did research on, safety meant that it meant you were free from terrorizing or harassment from an employer for reporting an unsafe work condition. Now, where we were to report any unsafe or not, how could I explain it? Not just say unsafe, but unfair working conditions. And that meant that we would definitely be retaliated against. Now, with bringing in the union, this would take everything away. This wouldn't give management the right to fire or demote you because you reported something that was unsafe. Somebody got cut, or if somebody got hurt at work, in my experience, I did see a lot of people afraid to speak up. And because of this is why I felt compelled to move forward with joining a labor union. Not only did it mean I was going to be paying to become a member, but I was going to be represented, not only with those Weingarten rights, but my job was going to be protected. Me as an employee, I was being heard. Now, not for the wage increase, this was a plus to everyone because now with performance evaluations and or the work performance, this meant that with based off our evaluations, not only were we getting an incentive, but annually we would actually receive higher pay, higher wages, and we wouldn't be check to check. According to an article in the Huffington Post, employees would actually perform a lot better if wage increases were improved. This meant that we were meeting the pay, and it was basically performance plus pay. So it was matching the wage. And in our case, that was definitely a positive for us. Not only was our the advantage was for benefits, but our medical insurance went up. The coverage was a lot better. And because of this, we actually had the option to roll over those $400 into what we now have is a 401k. We never had that before, and that was something that was introduced. We had the option to choose where we wanted to put in our extra $400 or that bin credit, all thanks to our union. And with this being said, this is a collective bargaining agreement. That's something that you do join, and this is a benefit to an employee in the union, which would protect an employee from unjust or unfair labor practices or dismissal through collective bargaining agreement, which I found on Union Plus. This is not from Union Plus, but this is actually for my own work. And as you can see here, based on my contract, it's for a total of 5 years, from 2020 to December of 2025, or until our contract renews. Now, this is something that I felt strongly for those of you that have gone through unfair work practices or negative work ethics, poor work ethics from management, or having experienced retaliation for speaking up. Wouldn't you want to join a union or have someone represent you? Wouldn't it be better for you not to be fired, for them not to give you that right to just up and quit or suck it up? I didn't, and I didn't allow it. President Biden signed an executive order in April of 2021 creating a task force to bolster union membership, augment worker organizing, and support collective bargaining efforts. And President Biden's duty was to encourage unions. This is why you should vote in favor of unionizing or joining a union labor so that we can put an end to unfair work practices and seek justice in our workplace.